So UFC Fight Night Kansas City just ended. We got a lot to talk about with the main event between Garry and Carlos Prates. A lot of good performances, a lot of interesting prospects we need to talk about. So let's start it off with George Wayne Edwards defeating Chelsea Chandler in the first round by TKO. This is pretty vicious, man. I picked Edwards to win. I believe I did it by decision, but she looked like she was a step ahead of Chelsea Chandler the entire fight. She was covering distance while landing efficiently, and she threw a barrage of strikes while Chelsea Chandler was against the cage, which dropped her, and she just followed up on it. Really impressive win. I like seeing this from female fighters. We need more fighters like this in the female divisions that can deliver performances like this. Now we'll have to see if George Wayne Edwards can do this to the top of the women's divisions. I'm already blanking on. Isn't she a flyweight? I already forgot, but really good performance by her. I'm very interested to see how she does in the UFC. She was a beast before. She had, I believe, like 8 knockouts in a row or something absurd like that. But moving on to our next fight. Timmy Colombo defeating Roberto Romero in the second round with a beautiful flying knee. Romero was very focused on clinching. He was trying to initiate the grappling, but he had mixed success with that. Colombo did land a low blow in the first round, which did stop the fight, but he just looked much quicker on the feet. His combinations were a lot smoother. And then when he was able to throw that flying knee, it hit Romero by surprise, followed it up. And yeah, it was a really good win. I was losing my mind at this finish. Um, really good for him. I believed I did pick Romero to win this fight, but yeah, really fun fight, really good performance. Like I said, we had a lot of good finishes today. This is the other one I want to talk about. Jacqueline Amorum defeating Poliana Vienna by a second round rear naked choke. It was pretty even on the feet. I want to see more of a more stand up. I feel like she definitely has a lot more to learn in the striking department. But the moment they engaged in any kind of grappling, it was clear Amorum had a severe advantage over Paulie Vienna, and she managed to get her third straight win. Um, uh, Damn it. Come on. I don't even know what that was. It was her third straight win. For our fourth straight finish, third straight sub. I don't know why I put the comma there. But yeah, I was really impressed by her. And I think that she could potentially be a scary matchup for a lot of the fighters in that division. Moving on to Malcolm Wellmaker defeating Cameron Simon in the first round with a counter right hook. Malcolm Wellmaker coming in from the Contender Series had a really good knockout. I forgot who he knocked out, but it was a really good finish. This one was more of the same. Every shot that he was throwing at Cameron Simon, he was trying to take his head off, and the hook that he landed was fast. It was really fast. This guy definitely has hands. Um, and yeah, we need more finishers, and if this guy can keep this up, I believe he can be a legitimate star. Um, Again, he came in off of a ton of first round and second round knockouts, and I was really impressed by him. I picked Simon to win. I thought Simon had more. Damn it, I'm blanking on the word. I thought he had more experience. I thought he was coming off a lot of difficult losses to really talented fighters, but Malcolm Lawmaker proved that he is one of those talented fighters. Moving on to Damone Blackshear defeating Alton Jenny. I can never say this guy's name. Um, this is a really good win for Blackshear. Blackshear looked really impressive in the first round. He was moving really well. He was landing efficiently. He slowed down in the second, and Alton Jen, Alton Jen, Joey, I hate saying this guy's name. He definitely picked up more as the fight went on, and he got a lot more comfortable in the second and third. But Damon Blackshear through the entire fight was landing well, was able to defend some of the takedowns, and we know in the grappling department he is a major threat. He was coming off of two submissions back to back, and I wrote it down that Ken Blackshear reached his potential. I really do think Devon Blackshear is highly talented, and I think that he can be a ranked contender. It's just a matter of seeing the consistency, and of course, can you do it against the guys right outside of the top 15? Because again, that's another division. Oh, like a lot like every other division. I would say the top 15 to 25. And the difference in skill is minimal, I feel, but a really good win for Blackshear. Like I said, a win that he really needed. And I hope that he can unlock something and put on a lot of good performances. Like I keep saying, I believe in Blackshear, man. I think that he could be a legitimate threat in the UFC. Moving on to a fight that I was really disappointed by. Chris Gutierrez versus John Castaneda. When I looked at this fight beforehand, I was really excited for this one. These two are really good fighters, and they both have had really good performances in the UFC. It was a close fight, not a very high paced fight, and I feel like Chris Gutierrez has a lot of room to improve before being a potential contender. John Castaneda had his moments in this fight. Um, I thought overall, I had Chris Gutierrez winning this 29-28. I I can kind of see how Egypt can score for John Castaneda, but Gutierrez was landing the bigger shots. Like the round in question, I believe was round one, which was a close round, but I thought Gutierrez was landing the bigger shots, and I had him winning this fight 30-27. But like I said, I was very disappointed. I was really thinking that this could be potentially fight of the night here. Um, but both of these guys are young in their careers. Hopefully, we can see this match later down the road. Um, but yeah, I was really disappointed. It's still a win for Gutierrez, who I do believe is a guy to look out for in the next few years. But overall, I was disappointed by it. I thought he could have done a lot more. I thought he slowed down uh, in the middle of the fight, and he didn't capitalize on a lot of the mistakes that Castaneda made. Moving on to Evan Edler defeating Gage Young by unanimous decision. So Evan Edler, if you guys don't know, was supposed to fight. I've already forgot their name, but they ended up messaging some younger people, and they're currently being investigated by authorities. So I ended up fighting Gage Young, who came in on short notice, and he really impressed me. I think that Gage Young and Evan Edward are both really talented. And I thought this was a really good fight. Evan Edward and Gage Young showed that they have a lot of potential and they belong in the UFC. Now he's on a 3-fight win streak after losing his first two in the UFC. I again, this is another guy I feel that can go on a decent run, and if he takes his time, I feel could be a guy that we're talking about in some major fights. Maybe not like top five fights, but I can see Evan Edward being a guy that you look back on and you see him face multiple champions. But we'll have to see though. Uh, Moving on to Matt Snow defeating Jimmy Quick by unanimous decision. Um, First round was kind of a waste. Really, not much to say about the first round. But Matt Snow nearly got a guillotine in the second, and it was really close uh, to uh, putting him out. He really took over the fight in the second and the third. Got a body triangle in the third, and was going for a rear naked choke that he nearly got. I was expecting a much more entertaining fight than what we got. But I mean, Matt Snell did what he needed to do. This was really a win. It was a fight, man, for him to get back in the win column and see if he can still stick around. I believe he was on a 2 or 3 fight losing streak going into this fight. Again, though, um, it was a much more impressive fight than I thought it would be. But again, I don't really know what to think about match now off of defeating Jimmy Flick. Moving on to Ikram Olistra versus Andre Muniz. We're getting into the main event now. This was this was a win that Olistra needed. Andre Muniz is a really, really good middleweight. I do believe Muniz will crack into the top of middleweight at some point. But Ostrov landed a left hook that stunned Muniz against the cage, followed it up with ground strikes. It's a good win, but I want him to have a steady progression in opponents. I don't want to throw him back into a top five fight off of this win. Even though like I said, Andre Muniz is a really tough opponent, I thought this was going to be a difficult fight. I believe I did pick a Scrub by TKO, think in the second round. But I want to see him take his time. We already have contenders in the middleweight division. You know, we got Barala, we got Hamzat, we got um. I'm already blanking on the names. Uh, Hernandez is on the come up. I want to see Ostrov have like maybe 1 or 2 more fights before he jumps in against another top 10 opponent. But yeah, really good performance by him. Outside of the Whitaker fight, he is a machine and he is a monster. Moving into Randy Brown versus Nicholas Dolby. Randy Brown knocked him out in the second round with a right hook. Randy Brown had an incredible round one. He broke Dolby's nose early. Dolby did drop him with a massive right. I believe at the end of round one. But round two was a stunfest until Randy Brown found a massive right hook and followed it up with a lot of good jabs. I went nuts at this knockout. You know, we know Randy Brown. He's been in the welterweight division for years now. He's a veteran. Never really cracked into the top of the division, but has been around the top 15 majority of his career. He's coming off of a really boring fight with Brian Battle. He needed this win, and it was a really good win. Again, he broke Dolby's nose really badly. Right at the jump, too. I believe it wasn't like a minute and a half in, but a really good win for Randy Brown. I always love seeing the veterans pick up these wins that you know keep them in the mix, get them fighting the best of their um weight class and that. But we move on to Abus Nurmagomedov defeating Michel Pereira by unanimous decision. Abus Nurmagomedov had a really good first round. I think he controlled most of the round, was able to knock down Pereira early. Round two was a very close round, but I did give it to Pereira slightly. I felt like he was doing a good job at landing leg kicks, landed some jabs, and kept the range. Abush looked really tired in the third, but he was stunning Pereira with nearly every strike he got. I thought they were going to finish or stop the fight, but good win for Abush Magomedov. I did pick Michel Pereira to win. Now he's on a two-fight losing streak. I believe he lost to Anthony Hernandez in his last fight. Um, but yeah, Abu Magomedov definitely showed that he has power. He can grapple. We'll see what he can do in the middleweight division. Again, Pereira was on a really good run before the Hernandez fight. Then we get into David and Omar defeating Giga Chikadze. This one hurt me. He won this fight by unanimous decision. I have no issue with that. Both had each other rocked in the first, but I gave it to Giga. I feel like Giga was doing a good job at keeping the range. I felt like he was outlanding Onama in the first round. I thought he rocked Onama worse than he got rocked. Onama controlled most of round two, and then we got a guillotine choke late into the round. There was a clash of heads in the third off of an Onama takedown that didn't work. But Onama, well, no, it did work. I'm sorry. He did get Kakashi down, and he ended the fight with 3 minutes of control time, just ranked in his hometown. Um, David Unama is really talented. I really do think that this guy will have a lot of fun fights in this division. But I remember when Giga came in, Giga Chikadze, when the UFC signed him, was one of those guys that a lot of the hardcores had their eyes on, and he did show promise, I believe. Didn't he knock out a couple Swanson? And I forgot who else he knocked out. But then he fought Calvin Cater and some of the top um featherweights. That yeah, there we go. Now I remember the weight class. Um, he did fight some of the top featherweights. He looked really good in them. But it hurt me, man. I do think that Giga has a lot of potential. It's just the grappling their question, and yeah, mainly the grappling. Like his striking is unbelievable. But let's move on to the co-main event of Zhang Menyang defeating Anthony Smith in the first round by ground and pound. I did give Anthony Smith a round. I thought he would make it to the second round and get knocked out, but we obviously gotta take time with this fight. Smith had his moments in round one, like he has had in nearly every fight that he has had. After John Jones, I'd probably say, but Zhang was landing the bigger shots, um, and landing more consistently. Smith really didn't hit him much that uh, hit him with much that hurt him apart from maybe a few body shots. Zhang, uh, Zhang then rained out. I'm jumping ahead. Zhang did land the better shots, like I said. He then landed an elbow to the top of the head that cut Anthony Smith bad. And then Anthony Smith dropped to the ground. Zhang started raining elbows on him until it was stopped. Smith, I have no idea who it was. I'm gonna figure it out after upload this. He got mad after the end of the fight at somebody in the crowd. Like he was jumping the cage and screaming at them. I have no idea who it was. But for Zhang Mingyang though, he is probably without a doubt, he is the scariest white heavyweight prospect we have right now. 19 first round finishes, 12 in a row, 3 in the UFC. Now he's in the top 15 of white heavyweight. We got a lot of guys coming in at white heavyweight and heavyweight. I know heavyweight right now, it's a bit of a joke. Like when you look at the guys who are ranked there, you kind of question it. But I'm telling you, light heavy, I would say like from middleweight to heavyweight, a lot of these guys either coming into the UFC or who are on the contender series, they're gonna be deadly, man. And Zhang Ming Yang, I believe he's 25. He's going to be in the UFC for 10 years, and I can honestly see this guy becoming a champion relatively early on in his UFC career. This guy has finishing potential. He has submissions. Really impressive performance. Now on to Anthony Smith. You know, say what you want about Anthony Smith. The believe you me thing where I just left the podcast without saying anything. You know, the endless clips that people make fun of Anthony Smith for. When you see somebody in their last fight, you see like that fire go out. Whether you like the fight or you hate it, it gets to you because if you have any bit of empathy, like if you have any bit of an ability to look at somebody and understand like how that feels when when you're an athlete and it comes clear to you that this is it. And they talked about, him having no pressure in that fight and how he said like he was, excited to go in the cage. He did walk out with all, flowers and all. But like the career of Anthony Smith is something. I feel a lot of people will be making videos about it, but I mean, regardless, this guy had I believe 16 first round finishes, was a submission machine, and he was in there with some of the best to ever do it, John Jones. Yeah, so whether you love him or hate him, the memories that Anthony Smith gave us in the cage on his podcast on Believe You Me, all the memes, we have to thank Anthony Smith. But like I said, Zhang Ming Yang probably will be a top contender in the light heavyweight division in the next year or two. We move on to the main event, and okay, so I picked Carlos Prates to win by second round knockout, and I mainly did that because I'm all in on the fighting nerds. I am full I'm full in on the bandwagon. But Ian Garry, he is a top welterweight. The first round was very slow, but I gave it to Ian Garry. Um, Prates slipped, and Garry threw a couple ground strikes closer to the end of the round. But overall, Ian Garry, I felt, was the one doing a better job at finding the range, landing consistent shots. Then in round two, Garry got more comfortable with his range, and he was landing more consistently. He was using the jab very well. And then Garry, uh, when you got into the third round, he was landing basically any shot that he wanted to land on Carlos Prates. He got a takedown in the third. Prates did have really good takedown defense in this fight. Um, and he was able to get up to his feet fairly quickly. Fourth round was more of the same. Prates did show some urgency in the fifth. He started tagging Garry, and when you get to the last minute of the fight, Prates had an incredible opportunity to end it, but you can clearly tell he was way too tired. I honestly think it was a matter of maybe three hooks, because Ian Garry was rock bad. Um, but he won by unanimous decision. You know, he's really talented. He's really talented. I don't. I was gonna shit on Ian Garry. All the memes aside, Ian Garry is a fucking bad motherfucker, dude. What he was doing, able to do against Shelfcott, coming out here against Cole Spartas again on short notice and beating him, like it's incredible. And then he also announced that he is apparently the backup fighter to Bilal versus JDM. So whatever Shavkat's injury is, we will have to see what Shavkat will do when he returns. And that would be kind of interesting if, let's say, JDM gets injured, Ian Garry steps in and somehow beats Bilal. Then do you do Garry versus Shavkat 2 for the title? We have a lot of insane possibilities coming up with these fights. But all in all, it was a good card. We had a lot of good finishes. For Carlos Prates, man, he's early on in his career. I would have liked to see him do more, but again, I feel like this was more of Ian Garry sticking to his game plan and it working effectively. He won exactly how many people believe he would, and he legitimately could become a champion in this division. But that's really all I got for this event. I need to make sure. Did I add anything? No, I did not. All in all, though, it was a really, really fun night of fights. Had a lot of good finishes, and a lot of these up and coming fighters that were fighting on this card, I think have a lot of potential in their divisions. Well, let me know, what did you think of this card down below in the comments. Did you like it? Did you hate it? What matchups would you make next? When it comes to Ian Garry, if he's going to be the backup fighter, okay. But you know if JDM fights Paul, the next fight I would like to see for Ian Garry would either be Buckley if he beats Usman, or it would have to be Brady or Buckley. But oh wait, no, actually this. Okay, either Buckley, Usman, or Brady. Yeah, God, my brain doesn't work. But let me know, what did you think about this card down below. What performances impressed you the most? I don't know. I got a couple videos I want to make about certain fighters on this card this week. But thanks for watching. Later.